Excuse me, y'all. Hey, everybody, I'm just dropping in on you. I want to talk real briefly to my sisters. The brothers definitely stay on because the perspective I'm going to be talking from is from that of a man, but I'm going to be speaking to sisters and hopefully reaching them and getting them to see things slightly differently than they normally would. Uh, Maybe some of you who follow me on a regular basis have already read the uh, homage I paid to my wife and how I spoke about the need of Black men, including myself, to step our games up in the way that we deal with our women, not just our wives, starting with our wives, but our daughters, and then every other Black woman. That should be a level of appreciation for her struggle, for what she's been through. And I know there are going to be some brothers that'll sit up and talk about everything we've been through, and I understand that. There's probably no other person more despised than the Black man, more feared than the Black man, more threatened than the Black man, but we can't lose sight of everything that our women have been through in the process of understanding who we are. We must still understand that despite what we've been through, everything we've gone through, everything we've suffered, we still have a responsibility to our women. So I want you guys to stay on and listen, but I'm going to talk specifically to my sisters. Look, the phrase "know your worth" is tossed around so much that it's really lost its impact. It's lost its meaning. It's thrown around. It's easily claimed. I see so many proclamations of women who claim to know their value and know their worth, but yet dealing with all types of things that diminish them in value, diminish them in disrespect who they are in worth and value. See, the knowing of your value means that there is a value assessment. And what a value assessment is saying this is what I'm worth and I won't accept anything less. You can say I'm worth this, but the moment you accept anything less, you diminish the value that you've established, and you establish a new value by what you accept. That works when you're accepting a job. You can say I'm worth all of this. The moment you accept the job, you're saying this is what I'm worth. And it's not about what you get paid, it's about what you get from the job. See, you might not get a lot of money from it, but it may give you the empowerment of working in an area that you want to work in, and it fulfills you. And see, that's a part of you receiving what you're worth and value, is the fulfillment. So it may not come in money, it may come in some other way, but the value level has to be met or the value is diminished. Well, you can't say you know your value and you allow a man to disrespect you. You allow a man to mishandle you. You allow a man to mess with your and play with your emotions. You allow a man to do anything but elevate you, to lift you up. And I don't care where a man is at. There's a way that he can walk into your life and bring something to the table. He might not be ready for marriage. He might not be financially ready. He might not be emotionally ready, but he has to have a sense of purpose in knowing who he is in the grand scheme of things, to know what he has to be. And what he can bring to the table is respect. What he can always bring to the table are words of encouragement and edification. What he can always bring to the table is a willingness to put his life before yours, to defend yours. Those are things that doesn't require a bank account. It doesn't require a degree on the wall. It requires an intent to be respectful, an intent to engage his responsibilities as a man, specifically as a Black man. When you sit up and say, I have worth, your actions and the way you engage people around you has to reflect that. You always see me big up in my wife, and there are some people that'll say whatever they say about it. But the one thing I can tell you about me and anybody that knows me is I don't care what people think. I know what matters to me and I know what's important. And I'll be honest with you, that was something I was told more than 20 years ago by a mentor, someone I respected. And I was asking about another person that was new in the environment, and I asked him what he thought, and his reply was, I've met him, but I'm not sure yet. I haven't met his wife. And I'm like, well, okay, what does that mean? He says, you can discern the character of a man by observing the countenance of his wife. And he's saying you can look at her face and observe her and the predominance of the time when he's really fulfilling his role as a man. You can see it in her smile and the way her eyes light up. And then when you mention his name, the way she lights up. When, in the same sense, if he's not handling his business, you can see it in her demeanor. You can see it in the way her shoulders slump. You can see it in the darkness in her eyes. He says a man is reflected most in his woman. And I'll be honest with you, this is a moment of transparency. I'm not big up in myself. I'm coming to you because I see a need for us as Black men to rise to the occasion, but there's a challenge that comes with that. There are times my wife has walked out of the house, and this is between me and you and whoever else sees the video, but there was a time she walked out the house, and I knew the countenance of her face, the way she looked, didn't reflect well on me. But see, here's the thing. Where so many men would sit up and say, it's not my problem. To hell with it. I went to work on finding a way to fix that. I'm grateful that that's not something that's common, but when it happens, it reflects back to me and it says, step up. You got more to give it. You got more to do it. Find a way to fix it. And see, that's what it is. It's not about being perfect. It's about saying, when I see something that's not right, I'm going to go to work on it. But here's the problem. Unfortunately, we live in a world where Black manhood hasn't been modeled the way that it should be. That it hasn't been modeled. And what do I mean by that? A lot of Black men simply don't know. All they know is what they want. Black men by nature are conquerors. We go on conquests. We gotta get stuff. And then for most men, getting a woman is just something on their list of conquests, because they don't understand the nature of love and the nature of relationship. So they just go out grabbing stuff. But here's what I can tell you. The desire to conquest or grab or take hold of a woman is so strong in a man, because a great deal of his validation comes from a woman, even if he doesn't understand it. That's why you got so many brothers sleeping around. They're trying to feel that feeling they get when they're with a woman. Why? Because when a woman gives herself to the man, it's the greatest and most powerful confirmation of his manhood that there can be. There's nothing like saying, I want to become one with you. And that's what you're doing when you give yourself to a man. The problem is you're giving yourself to a man that hasn't earned the right to be one with you. Here's the thing that I can tell you, because men want this thing with women so much, the moment you raise your standards, you will empty the field around you of people who want to be in your space but don't want to treat you the way you deserve to be treated. What you will find is the only few left behind are those who are ready to step up. And you are placing the demand and the standard at which they rise. Have you ever noticed being out, I don't do the club scene anymore. Back in the day, I had to do it. It was a part of the business and a lot of other stuff that I was doing. And the one thing I noticed is when we were promoting events and doing things like that, all we had to do was get the women in the club. All we had to do is get the women to the event. So we promoted to and gave concessions to women to get them there, knowing that if we got them there, the men would be there. Why? Because that's the power of the woman. So the thing is, though, when you don't know your power, when you don't understand your force, you tend to accept anything to have something. But what we've got to get to is a standard that we set on ourselves that say, I will not accept anything less than I'm worth, and I'm worth this, meaning that I'm worth being respected. I'm worth being safe. I'm worth being handled correctly. I'm worth committing to for a lifetime commitment. I'm worth being with a man that's going to stay around and father his progeny. I don't mean procreate, I mean father. I mean after the procreation and the birth, here we are, and we're working together as a unit to raise children. I'm going to demand that there's a commitment. I'm going to demand that I be respected. I'm going to demand that I'm handled in a certain way. You're not allowed to put your hands on me. You're not allowed to put your mouth on me in a negative and disrespectful way. You are not allowed to go off and share yourself with every other woman and come back and think I must wait on you. There are just some things that the Black woman is going to have to be willing to do to protect herself. Now, Black men, this doesn't mean that you can take aim at low-hanging fruit. For those of you who are watching, what do I mean by that? I mean that instead of raising your standard, you go around and you find the ones that haven't raised theirs yet, and you target them. That should be a standard. The thing that got me, you see me sharing and talk about and big up in my wife all the time. And In my eyes, she's the most beautiful thing on earth, and any standard, she's gorgeous. That wasn't what got my attention, but I've seen a beautiful face. I've seen beautiful faces that covered broken hearts, broken psyches, trauma, and so more. Is what got. And like I said about my wife, is she had this thing that she was not going to accept A, B, C, and D. She didn't care what. I knew that she was feeling me, but there were other things that I had going on in my life at the time that wasn't directly aimed at her or anything, but was already in existence. And she put away. She stepped back. Matter of fact, she put up a guard so strong that her weakness or her desire to be with me wouldn't get in the way. She totally cut me off. She blocked my number. She blocked me on social media. And I'm like, what did I do? And I didn't do anything disrespectful to her, but I had things in my life that wasn't going to be good for us that I needed to deal with. And she had enough respect for herself based on what she had come from and what she had done, that she was willing to take a risk on not getting with me to get the best me. See, I don't know what would have happened if she would have accepted me back then when those things hadn't been dealt with yet. See, we think that just because a person is a good-hearted person, that they're always going to make the right decision. Sometimes there has to be something that challenges them to do it. And because I had such a high regard for her, I had to start looking at how can I be what I need to be to have her in my life. And I guarantee you that a large majority of the men, some men are just so broken they need help. And we're working with that. The Black Man Lead Rite of Passage Initiative deals with young Black males from 4 to 30. The younger kids are going to be trained and conditioned from 4 on what it means to be a Black man. And we're going to demand it of them. The older they get, the more we've got to work with them to get that old thinking out. But we're doing it. But there are some men, and they need to come. They need to sit down. They need to deal with some hurt. See, what we don't want to talk about is, we talk about the 60% number when it comes to incest and childhood sexual assault and all of that, molestation and all that. We don't talk about the 1 in 6 Black males that suffer that, and that number is probably higher because males don't report. So we talking about some brokenness coming out of that. We're talking about some hurt of not knowing your father. We're talking about mismodeling of manhood. There's a lot that needs to be dealt with, but it's not an excuse. But you better understand that what you run up to and what you see is what you get. And you have to have a demand in your life that says, and for the sisters that will only love a Black man, I have the utmost respect for you. But what that means is that you might need to wait. And I'm being honest with you, because we're seeing where we're at right now, and there's so much hostility between us because there's no trust. There's a lot of finger pointing, but there's no trust. Your first in life, your first responsibility is self-preservation. Before you can be anything to anyone, before you can be a wife to a husband to a wife, before you can be a parent to a child, before you can be a leader in the community, you've got to be whole. You've got to look at what you've been through, and you've got to heal. There are some things in my life I had to heal from. Some things I took all the way into my 30s that I had to heal from, that I had to grow out of, that I had to conquer before I can really truly be anything close to being what a woman really needed. And see, it was easy for me to talk about the failed relationships prior to this one and say they did, and point the finger. And, you know, whatever they did. But at the bottom line is, you attract what you are. How did they get close enough to me to do what they did? I wasn't whole. I wasn't ready. I could cover it up well because I had money. I could hide a lot of my inadequacies with money. But but life came and brought me to a situation where all I had was me and God. And however you have your God is you. But all I had was God. And I had to look around me. I couldn't define myself with my cars and my clothes and my jewelry and my home any longer. I had to define myself with my character. And it was a growing process. There were some things that I needed to deal with. What am I getting at here? What I'm getting at is, I want Black women to mean it when they say their worth is high, that they have a high value. And if you have a high value, that what that means, if you go into Louis Vuitton store, if you go into Louis Vuitton store and you see this bag or you see these shoes or you see this wallet or whatever it is, and they say, this is the price for it, this is the value, this is what we believe it's worth. And their value is built off of whatever. A lot of it is just brand, but the brand has been built so strong that people will pay for it. A lot of it is quality. I'll tell you that it is made better than the average stuff, but it's mostly brand. But whatever, they tell you this is the value. Guess how they sustain that value? Guess how they sustain that value? They won't accept anything less than what they say it is. Now, you'll get these promotions in the mail. They'll send you a little mailer. They'll send you an email. They'll send you a little book every now and then, and they'll tell you what's going for now. But as a general rule, when they say it's $15.99, that's what it is. And you can't say, well, I'm going to give you $700 for it. And they say, okay, well, I'll give you $700. But that's what you do when you say, this is my value. And then a guy come along and says, well, I can't pay that price, but I can take you out every now and then. And we can go and do this every now and then, but I ain't going to commit to you. I'm not going to be loyal to you. I'm not going to pay that part of the price. And you sit up and say, well, let's see what happens. When a guy shows up and he shows you that he's got violent tendencies, and you say, but he's got everything I need. He can help me with my bills. He can do all this, but he's probably gonna whoop your butt. But you're gonna accept it because this price over here is gonna be, this part over here is gonna be handled. You lower your value. Make a demand on any man that steps to you that he comes correct. Now, let me explain something, and then I'm gonna be done here. When I say come correct, I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm a long way from perfect, but see, that should be a desire in the heart of a man, in the heart of a black man, that says, I want the best for my women. That means my daughters, my wife, my mother, and every other black woman. I want the best. I want to see them protected. I want to see them safe. I want to see them in a place where they are capable. Let me put it this way. When I wake up every day, the first thing that I say to myself, outside of thanking God that I looked over to my left and my wife was breathing, the next thing I say to myself is, let me be the permission she needs to step out and be her. Not what I want her to be, not what I think she should be, not what I think she should be doing, but what her heart desires. Let my very presence be the permission for her to do it. Sometimes it's a lot more permission in the air than others. There are sometimes I need to look and say, I got to step my game up. This is me being transparent. This is me saying, I need to give her more comfort in this area. I need to give her more security in this area. The thing is, where I feel we need to be is that desire. Because if you desire something strongly enough, you find a way to make it happen. But if you are okay with just being, you'll never push beyond it. And that's in everything in life, no matter what. When I'm teaching my clients at the Visionetics Institute, if I get you in, you're just cool where you're at, it's going to be hard to get you wired and ready to go out and do things that's far beyond that because you're okay. That's got to be at least a desire that says, I'm going to be the best I can possibly be. I'm going to love my woman back to life. And I don't mean take her in broken. I mean take her in and serve that part of her that's saying, I've never known what it's like to trust a man before. See, that's something beautiful, and I hope y'all catching me, men and women. There's something beautiful about allowing a woman to sink into you and telling her, never again. Never again will you be hurt at the hand of a man. Never again will you have to wonder what your man is doing when he leaves the house. Never again will you have to worry about a man putting his hands on you. It's something about being able to say that should serve your manhood and masculinity. I'm just sick and tired of looking up and down my timeline and getting people coming to me for counseling. And there's this big, bold elephant in the room. Don't give yourself to anything that cannot meet you at the level of your value. Every time you do that, you lower your value. It's not what you declare, It's what you demand. Let me say that again. Your value isn't what you declare, it's what you demand. So you can declare a value, but what you demand for what it is that you are valuing in yourself, that's what your value is. If you sit up and say, you can never put your hands on me, that's value. You can never disrespect me verbally, that's value. You cannot sit up and just hang around and suck the life out of me, that's value. All of these things are what adds to your value. It's not what you say, it's what you demand. And that goes for everything else in life. It goes for where you work at, who you work with, your business, your job, your relationships. You have to have a demand that represents your value. Or everything in this world will suck the life out of you. Your man will suck the life out of you. Your children will suck the life out of you. Your job will suck the life out of you. And you'll be left empty because nobody values you enough to be pouring into you. Look, as of right now, that's all I have. That's all I have. But look, to the brothers, I'm challenging you to step up. Yeah, I know you can point the finger and you can talk about all the times you've been hurt by women. You can talk about how women carry themselves, and you can talk about so many things. But I'm challenging you to start with you. I'm challenging you to look inside of you and see what can be done to enhance who you are. Because the more you grow, the more powerful you become, the more focused you become, the more loving you become, the more you will have a view and understanding of why women are where they are and why and what you can do about it. Women, you owe it to yourself to be the best you can possibly be. And if a man can't bring enough to the table to elevate you, he doesn't belong. There should be something about him that immediately elevates you. The rest of it you can work on. If he's bringing something to the table and it's filled with respect, it's filled with awe, it's filled with the ability to pour into you. The other things, if you can see it and he's got a clear vision of where he's going and you can believe in it, y'all can get there together. But the first thing is he's got to bring something. He can't come empty-handed, and he definitely can't come trying to take. This is on you. The man is going to meet the demand because he wants a woman next to him, no matter how he's thinking and talking. But the thing is, the demand on most black men isn't great enough to make them rise up. And yes, that should be a natural desire to do so, but there's no modeling of manhood. That's what Black Men Lead is about. It's about teaching the black man what he should be before he even thinks about approaching a woman. But now you got a bunch of men out there that's already chasing, and nobody's holding them accountable by what they're demanding. That's all I have right now. Look, it's time to make things happen. To learn what we're doing, if you know of black males ages 4 to 30 that would benefit from a rite of passage program and a developmental process and program that will teach them what it means to be a black man and see it modeled by the men teaching, get at us. The link is there to check it out, to see what's going on with it. But this is my challenge. We can no longer continue to wake up. We got women being beaten and killed in subways in more than one city. We've got people that are targeting us solely because of the fact we're black. And it's becoming increasingly evident that they're targeting women because they're cowards. And it's a woman is an easy target. And so what we've got to be doing is sit up and developing in the mind of our men that the number one responsibility of the black man is to protect the black woman, period. With that being said, I'm going to get off of here. I could talk on this all day, but this is where we start. My sisters, demand the height and width and breadth of your value. Always. With that being said, I'm out of here.